Hello, Internet. I am Lauren Blair Donovan, and in addition to having the misfortune of having my parents pass away on me before an age that most people lose even one parent, my parents died the same week. Not the same year, but the same week. My dad died June 3rd of his respective year, and many moons later, my mom passed away June 6th. I don't love the first week of June. Yeah, I'm not a fan of anniversaries, and a lot of people in my position or in similar positions also don't love anniversaries. I bet you a lot of you didn't know that death anniversaries are kind of a thing, and they can be very haunting, not literally, hopefully. I don't think I believe in ghosts. They can be a really difficult time in the process of either grieving, like in the event of a year later, and or even for the rest of time. Anniversaries can just kind of mess with your head. So I'm here to explain why they're difficult, how they're sometimes not as difficult, what people can do to help, and if you're grieving, what you can do to help yourself, because I have come up with some hacks that don't push down the feelings, because I'm not a fan of that, but I do have hacks that help one be more productive and do life-affirming things during these terrible days. It sucks, guys. It just sucks. And if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, Hardy Har Har Comedy, give me a follow on Instagram, Blairosaurus_Rex. All right, there's probably two camps of people who have lost people in regards to anniversaries. One camp I am not a part of, and that's the camp that doesn't really tend to remember the specific date someone passed away. I wish. Nice work if you can get it. Oh my God. My dad was in this camp, and I remember asking him when I was probably about 12 years old, I was like, what day did your mom pass away? Because her headstone just had the years that she was born in and died in. He was almost like confused by the question, I feel. And he was like, I don't remember the day. Like my brain doesn't want to remember the day. It was the first week or so of November, but I don't want to remember the day. Yeah, I didn't get that gene. I did not get that gene. My brain is really creepy, and I remember things that most people wouldn't, and dates stick in my brain. Like, I remember my entire schedule from June of 2019. I remember what dates I flew out because I did a lot of trips that month. I remember what dates I had shows. I remember all the things. Of course, I remember the day my dad died, and the day my mom died, and the day my friends died. I remember the day my grandparents died. Not so much the grandmother that was my dad's mom, because I never got a straight answer about that, and I was 2 when she died. But yeah, no, I remember all the things, guys, and it's annoying. It's annoying. I was talking about this with someone recently who also remembers all the dates of all her tragedy dates, and it's just one of those things where I don't know what the reason is why some people remember stuff and some people don't, but it's definitely not on purpose. Like, those weird construction paper ring things that you would make in elementary school leading up to, like, usually I think it was Christmas, which if you're in a public school, that's weird. But anyway, they would have, like, you'd make a circle and then you'd put a circle here and then the circle here, and you'd rip it off every day until like Christmas or last day of school or whatever. No, I don't have that. Like, I wasn't like the first year my dad died, like counting down the days till the year mark. But for some reason, that day just sticks in my brain, as do all the other days. And I don't like this part of my personality. I would argue, though, that even for those who don't remember the specific time, date, all the things, I think there is some kind of weird muscle memory that happens. For instance, okay, this is a little bit of an anecdote and a little bit of a share, but when my mom passed away, she got sick when I was at the Groundlings, which is an improv and sketch comedy theater here in Los Angeles. And I had to drop out of the program because she got very sick and I had to go back to the East Coast. And it took me the better part of a year to get back to where I started and start over at the Groundlings. Now, the thing about Los Angeles that nobody tells you until you move here, it's not sunny all day every day. It's really not. There's this thing called May Gray, and June gloom where like we barely see the sun. And also it's not like beach weather every day. It's kind of chilly in the spring up until possibly July 4th. We will have hot days in between, but there are these weird lukewarm seasons that kind of happen, and it's a little strange. When I came back to the Groundlings, I found myself parking my car in the neighborhood that it's in and walking and starting to kind of get triggered. And even being in the class was kind of triggering for me. The Groundlings, I think most people would agree, is the hardest of all the comedy schools out in Los Angeles because it's the most intense, I think, in terms of what it asks you to do. It's very specific with what they're trying to build you up to be. And it's also, you only have so many chances to pass any class, and you end up getting cut from the program entirely if you don't pass after a certain amount of times. And most people do fail a class at some point, if not multiple classes. But it's a whole thing, guys. So I was under like a lot of pressure, and I found myself getting triggered on the way to class, and I started to kind of put two and two together. This isn't just the pressure of wanting to do well and succeed and pass. Oh, I'm being triggered because I was on my way to the Groundlings when I got the call from my brother that my mom was going back into the hospital, and it did not look good, you know. And the classes leading up to that, the weather was kind of similar, and it was almost the same time of year. I was wearing similar outfits because of the weather, and I felt myself being really, really triggered. And it was about 10 or 11 months after my mom passed. So I also started to realize, oh my goodness gracious, I think we're heading into the home stretch of the year mark. Of course I'm being triggered. I remember this happening with my dad. The week or two before the first anniversary of my dad's death, I found myself getting very agitated, and I didn't really understand why. I'm not really like a moody person. I can literally count on like one hand how many times I've woken up on the wrong side of the bed, even if the world is falling apart. I'm not necessarily like moody or lashing out, or I don't know. I'm pretty even if I'm really sad. And I couldn't figure out why it felt like my skin was crawling. And then, of course, I was in the shower and I was thinking, oh my God, it's the anniversary of Dad's passing, however many days out it was from there, and starting to cry in the shower, as you do. And it was almost like like muscle memory, like my brain subconsciously was putting two and two together about what was happening, probably also based on weather or based on whatever was going on. I think we do that even under less tragic circumstances. We think about where we were a year ago. We do it on New Year's. We do it at birthdays. We sometimes even do it at oddball times of the year, like, oh my God, me and this person broke up a year ago, or oh my God, I graduated a year ago. And you kind of do this reflection. So I think since we've sort of done that our whole lives, when someone passes away, I don't think it's a stretch to believe that the brain starts to kind of fill in the gaps of where you were the year before. And then you're like, oh my goodness gracious, like we're coming up on a year. Anniversaries tend to be very reflective times. And I find that can sometimes be the case even many years later. I've had good and bad days regarding at least my dad's death. My mom only passed away, 3 years ago this week. So I'm still learning kind of what it means to have June 6th roll around and what that feels like and how much distance I do or don't have from it emotionally and mentally. But with my dad, I was pretty traumatized the first year. I think because I didn't necessarily know it would be a thing. I did kind of notice the 3rd of every month leading up to June 3rd. So I was very aware of the time that he had been gone. And I think I was like relatively okay the day of, until I found myself, and this is kind of a personal share, but I did discover his body, and I found myself looking at a clock, magically, worst kind of magic, right at the time that I did find him, and I kind of had a little mini meltdown and ended up going to my cousin's house, which was great. But yeah, ever since then, I've had a little bit of a superstition about I I don't want to look at clocks, not in the evening, not for a good hour or so. Even though there's been several years that I am feeling okay on June 3rd, I'm not going to chance it. So the things that I would do would involve getting away from clocks, like a movie theater with like a significant other, or a concert with a friend, or a comedy show. Things that you're typically not going to be looking at your clock about, or your phone even, unless you're rude. The year before I moved out here, which was the last year that my mom was alive, I had, a mostly okay day. I felt very productive with some of the work I was doing. And I just put on a podcast and turned off all the lights and just knew the podcast was long enough to take me into past the danger zone hour, and just kind of zoned out listening to a podcast. So I think what people don't realize is, whether you're intending to or not, even my dad said about his mom's death, he knew what week it was. We remember things seasonally. We remember things from an environment standpoint and have triggers and can't completely erase. Like if you had someone die in the dead of winter, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, beach weather, this makes me think of when someone died. No, if you're still in a place where there's a hard winter, like a real winter, you're going to start to have associations. Our brains are always trying to make associations. And I think it's a matter of trying to acknowledge them, but find ways to work around them so you don't have to like spin out every single time. Hence, I avoid clocks. And it's not to say that you can't have your feelings. I'm just somebody who, I don't like surprises. So when I saw the clock and got real sad, or when I was in the shower and realized the death anniversary was coming up, I don't like being taken off guard like that. I don't like surprises. I'm usually good at outsmarting surprises. I've had 2 failed surprise parties I caught on because my brain's always looking out for everything. So I don't like being caught off guard, so that's kind of my self-care, to make sure that I'm at least not in a place to be in like a washing cycle emotionally and spin out. I think emotions happen when they happen, but I try not to have them happen gratuitously, if that makes sense. I hope that doesn't sound like I'm pushing stuff under the rug. That's just me trying to be healthy about not being a masochist about things, if that makes sense. I really am a big fan of doing something life-affirming in the name of your loved ones, whether that means going for like a nature hike, or whether that means like going to a concert or seeing a movie or seeing a comedy show. Yeah, maybe that's not the most noble, but art is so powerful. Like I said, I watched a comedy show, I went to the movies, I did a concert, I saw friends another year, and all that stuff can be so amazing and good for you because, well, art can be transformative and it's so amazing to watch. Well, I'm an artist, so I guess I'm biased, but I just love to be lost in another world of someone else's creation, and it's meditative almost, and being around people that I genuinely love and don't stress me out is sometimes another just great way to celebrate life. I remember one year I went out with a bunch of my friends in Denver, and it was just a lovely time. It was just nothing spectacular happened either which way. It was just nice. And the thing is, there's no recipe for after this amount of years it's going to be better, or it's gonna still suck, or whatever. I don't know. I feel like after 2 or 3 years I was in a way better headspace about the anniversary of my dad's death, because again, I can really only compare that because I'm still pretty new with my mom's death date. But I was a little bit surprised that there were some years that caught me a little off guard. And I would say usually if there was compounding circumstances, like if I was going through a rough time professionally or personally or health-wise, June 3rd hit kind of differently for me. It was not a great time, even if it had been several years. Whereas if I felt like I was maybe in a good place, or at least in a good headspace and working towards things, even if life wasn't perfect or making me like win left and right, I was better equipped to handle that kind of holiday. So I think even if it's been like a million years since someone passed away, life is fluid, grief is fluid, things can hit differently. So just because, you were great the year before, I don't think it means that you're going to be great for the rest of time. So word to the wise. That's all I mean by that. After both my parents passed, I made a decision in 2019, which was the year mark of my mom's passing, since I didn't know how I would feel about really any of it. It was, it was the first anniversary of my mom's passing, and it was also the first anniversary of it being the week of dead parents, like plural, like as weird as that is to put. And so I made sure to get out of LA because I love LA actually, but I know I'm a workhorse and I would just get sucked into all the everyday performing and rehearsing and whatever else I had going on, meetings, that kind of thing. I made sure to get out of Dodge or LA and hung out with a childhood friend in her city that I've been friends with my entire life, and be with somebody who definitely knew my family and supported me for who I am and where I'm at without question. Which is another thing. If any of your friends are kind of stressing you out, or anyone, family, significant others, now's the time to be selfish. I'm not into the term self-care. I'm so gonna make a video about that one day because I really don't love that phrase, or I don't like how people have bastardized the phrase, maybe is more accurately put. But I think it is your prerogative to implement self-care leading up to an anniversary week, on the anniversary, and do what you need to do to not go insane. So if there's people that you need to avoid, make sure there's other stuff on the calendar, or just ask for space. I think it's okay to ask for space. This year, I'm trying to figure out how to feel. Last year, there was a pandemic, and it was only the 2-year mark of my mom's passing. And yeah, that was not a fun time. And I did do some stuff virtually with people, and I was very thankful when I did, but I was pretty stressed out and not in a great headspace. I was almost resenting doing some virtual hangs, if you will. Once I got there, I was fine, but I was very stressed up leading up to it. So this year I am being, really cautious. I've only reached out to a few people. Some of my back home friends have already reached out because I've trained them well. No, just kidding. But they've lived a lot of this with me, and there's a few people I've specifically requested to see, and I kind of so far seem to want space on the actual death days, and that's kind of what I want. And I have only reached out to people who don't stress me out. Not to say if I haven't reached out to you and you're watching this, doesn't mean you stress me out. There's just certain people that I'm kind of walking in step with right now, and that's, I have a history with them at this point, so. But you see, even I'm kind of at a loss as to what to do, because every year is a little different, and I don't think I'd be as upset at this point at June 3rd. I had such a productive June 3rd 4 years ago, right before my mom died, a year before my mom died, that I don't think, like I said, anything could happen. Different things could tear me up a little bit in the future. But I think generally speaking, I've probably passed the worst of it, but just when I got a handle on it, mom died, same week. And so I'm trying to figure out how I feel in general, as well as I did realize last year it was a big awakening, because I was way sadder June 6th than I thought I would be, because I think after I left active grief, I kind of started to lump my mom's death in with my dad's death, which was considerably longer ago at this point. So I think I thought I was in a better headspace than I was. And last year I realized, oh no, I'm sad. I'm still sad she died. Even if I'm not grieving, I'm not only sad that she died still, but I'm still figuring out what it means to have her really be gone in like the long-term sense. So that's part of why I'm taking it easy this year. Look, I'm the same person, and I've had very different experiences with the anniversaries, and I'm still navigating how to feel about one of the anniversaries while I kind of have a handle on the other. Every person's different, every situation's different. So as much as like I have proclaimed myself an expert and my resume speaks for itself, I know better than to know that there's no recipe, there's no magic that can just make this day go away. I wish I've tried, but different circumstances can make you feel differently, and different people you've lost can make you feel differently. But yeah, I know firsthand how complicated it is, and how it's not linear, and how different years mean different things, and that's why it's hard to wrap this up in a nice bow and be like, this is how you'll feel on year 7, because I don't know. It could be so different for different people. So if you're watching and you're one of the lucky ones who have yet to lose someone, I think just be really sensitive of the people around you around the anniversaries. If you know it's coming up, try to remember it. Try to just give the benefit of the doubt with people if they're being wonky. Like I said, I'm pretty well adjusted about the fact that my dad died at this point. And I really am pretty well adjusted about the fact that my mom died. It's just, it hasn't been a million years. So I'm still kind of putting it into the correct context of what it means for my life, for the rest of my life. I've found myself I'm taping this within the final days of May. This past week I've been in, I don't want to say a bad mood, but just a different headspace. I feel like I've been a little slower with communication with some people. I feel like I've been kind of spacey at times, and I'm just sort of feeling a certain kind of way that I can't even totally put my finger on. I think it's a combination of I don't like this week, and I know it's coming, and it's finally like clicked that it is coming, because I'm still kind of in pandemic time zone where what day is it? I don't know. You know, that's the other thing too. I'm fully vaccinated, thank goodness, and I'm seeing more people and I'm having more things on the schedule, and I think there's something overlapping with the fact that it's like the least fun week of the year for me coming up, and I'm trying to process how to re-enter life, and my dog died almost a month ago, and it's just I don't know. I'm in a little bit of a messy diet messy headspace right now, where I don't think if you like yelled at me, I'd cry. And I don't even think I am going to cry this week. But at the same token, I know that I need to be a little bit protective, and I need to kind of bubble myself off and hopefully just get a lot of productive work done this week, because that's what I like to do. It makes me feel good. And just try to get my life in good shape so I can rock and roll hopefully through this week, but definitely after it. Even if it's been a million years for someone, you don't know what they're going through. Because like I said, besides the fact that my dog died a month ago, which sucked, I don't necessarily have a lot of bad things going on right now. I'm actually in a pretty good space, but I'm a little lost with how to feel about a lot of things. And the fact that it's my parents' death birthday coming up. There's no way that's not triggering me, and I know it is. I'm being honest, I'm being candid. It's totally low-key triggering me, in addition to other stuff. So maybe next year is the year that things will go back to normal, knock on wood, and I'll just remember that it's what it is, but it'll be all good. We're in weird times. Everyone's in weird transitional times right now. And so to have this be overlapping is great. I will say I am always so impressed with my friends who do remember. Like I said, I've already had people reach out from my past, that sounds bad, but from my childhood, from my young adult life. They remember, and one of my friends who was actually there the night my dad died and even gave him CPR, even though he was pretty clearly dead while we waited for the ambulance to come. She messages every June 3rd. I imagine that's kind of a big day for her too. I can't imagine she'll ever forget that day. What a great friend. My God, I love you, Lauren. You're the best. And no, that wasn't a shout out to me. I have a friend named Lauren, and I go by Lauren Blair or just Blair, unless you have very specific permission from me otherwise. But yeah, I mean, it's nice when people remember, because as I've said in the social media video, which I'll link below, I don't really like to announce it on Facebook anymore or Instagram that someone died, because people get a little melodramatic and don't really read anything nice I have to say about my parents and just assume I'm gonna jump off a bridge or something, which, I mean, it's great that they look out for me, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a fan of getting attention that I don't need. But it is so flattering and nice when people remember, because it's kind of like an anti-birthday. It's like the worst case scenario birthday, like Molly Ringgold, 16 candles. Yeah, no, this is worse, okay? It's worse, lady. It's worse. So it is not that I expect everyone to remember, because it's not like there's Facebook notifications like when it's your birthday. It's not like Lauren Blair Donovan's dad died today. They don't got that function, and frankly, I'm quite thankful for it. You have a friend who recently lost someone, write down the date that they died. Just say that you're thinking of them on that day. You don't even have to spell it out necessarily. Just thinking of you, love you, here if you need to talk. All those are really, really nice things. I have so much to say about anniversaries, I feel, and I'll probably save it for another video, maybe next year, 2022. I'll have part 2 in 2022. How's that? I didn't even get into friend anniversaries, which are similar, but I think in the future I am going to have a video about the differences between losing an immediate family member and a friend. And like all things, it's all subjective to what your relationships are, but there are some differences that do have different columns, I think, no matter what the situation is. So maybe I'll cover some of that here too. But death anniversaries suck. Death birthdays suck. Leading up to them can be weirdly triggering. Take care of yourself. Take care of your friends and family and lovers who are going through an anniversary that's warped and not great. I feel like I say in videos we don't talk about death as a culture, but I don't think we really talk about anniversaries of when people died, like even less we do that. So this one was like sticky. It was kind of anecdotal. So I feel like it's just not the most common topic to explore. So forgive me for that, but I hope I've at least humanized some of this. And again, just because I say this is how it is, it certainly doesn't mean that other people are not going through kind of similar things, but having very different reactions and have a very different set of needs. So please don't gaslight people and say you should be doing this or feeling this because Blair Donovan says so. I'm just starting a dialogue. I'm not a lawmaker of the rules of grief. I'm just trying to like talk about it, get us more comfortable with it, and then more people can come forward and tell their stories, and then we can all be better understood. Yay, happy world. That wraps it up for today. I am Lauren Blair Donovan, Blairosaurus Rex on all the social medias. Please subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.